Desperation in the car market, folks. Three examples to kick it off. First, we are seeing MSRPs on new cars getting reduced. Here's an example of the Chrysler Pacifica, a slow selling minivan from the lost automotive continent of Stellantis. We are seeing a 2024 model year repositioning strategy leading to reduced MSRPs. Another proof point of the impending desperation from automakers and car dealers, Nissan's fleet sales surging up to 44% of vehicles sold going to fleet customers. They are begging their dealer partners, throwing cash at them to take those vehicles off their lots. And Lincoln, another good example, modifying the rules of their service loaner fleet agreement with dealers, trying to get them to pad the stats and show more cars sold than actually have. We've got even more examples, but I'll pause there, Dad. Desperation in the auto industry. I'm pretty sure that's what we're seeing.
Well, you can define it as desperation, or you could define it as, well, reality. And what I mean by that is manufacturers such as Stellantis and such as Ford, when it comes to the F-150 Lightning and the Mustang Mach-E, these manufacturers have finally come to the realization that reality has hit them square in the face that says, we've got to lower our prices or we're not going to sell any cars. And so we're seeing Stellantis reposition the pricing of the Pacifica. We've seen them reposition the pricing of the of some of their Jeep models. We see them repositioning the pricing of some of their Ram pickup trucks, and we've seen Ford repositioning the pricing on their Mach-E's and their Lightnings. Reality, it's not desperation, it's reality. We've priced this stuff too high, and it's now time to lower the prices.
Now, fortunately, we're starting to see prices come down for new cars just a little bit. Go watch our other video talking about wait until after Memorial Day to buy a used car if you can. P.S. Now's a good time to sell a used car because wholesale values are going up. But look at the data for new car sales, Dad. Fortunately, the average transaction price for a new car is under $45,000. The data from JD Power suggests the average transaction price for a new car is $44,186 for the month of March, down year over year $1,700 from $45,834. And look at this, Dad, the incentives. The incentive spend as a percentage of MSRP is up to 5.8% from 3.6% a year ago. This is a demonstration from the manufacturer of them stepping up to sell their cars. They are spending more money on incentives, and we're seeing that in the wild every single day. There are multiple programs for Jeeps, Rams, Chrysler, and Dodge products, as well as some of the Ford products and other brands like Mazda's. 10, 15, 18% off for those Jeeps, 0% financing options for the Ford products and for the Mazda products. As inventory sits, desperation ensues. I think there are a lot of automakers and big car dealers, Dad, that are scared. It's a video, I can say it right now, of what's going on.
It's reality. The reality is that in order to move the metal, the prices have had to come down. You've seen a decline of $1,700 in the average transaction price. Trade-in equity for those who have equity has dropped almost the same as the average transaction price. Trade-in equity has dropped $1,400. So in order to make these vehicles somewhat affordable, the price had to come down. It just had to come down. The percentage of vehicles sold over MSRP has dropped from 31% to 16% because the dealers are facing the reality that they can no longer get above MSRP in most cases. And I don't know, 84% is most cases. So the desperation is just reality. And reality says that when things aren't moving as quickly as you would like them to move, you need to lower the price. And that's what we're seeing finally happening in the new car market.
100%. And you look nationwide, Dad, and there are still hundreds of thousands of 2023 new cars for sale on dealer lots. 2025's already coming out or around the corner. Let's look at an example. You're out in Southern California looking at a 2023 Chrysler Pacifica. No wonder there's an MSRP reduction in store for the Chrysler Pacificas. There's a 164 days supply of this particular 2023 Chrysler Pacifica limited front wheel drive in this part of California. And that's not even the most egregious example. We could look to some of the electric vehicles, Dad, to
Mhm.
see really out of this world, market days supply. And market day supply is the key metric for understanding how fast or slow a particular vehicle is selling. I mean, Dad, we are seeing market days supply for some of these brands, not just individual vehicles, but brands up well over 150, 180 days. And that is untenable long term. Share with us a brief example, if you don't mind. When you were running the Acura dealership, you used to manage that inventory like crazy, right? Like, did you ever have cars sitting for over 150, 180 days? And if so, what were you doing to get rid of them?
If I did, and when I did, and yes, you have aged inventory. It happens. Salespeople walk around the older stuff and just look at the fresher stuff. So in many cases, I would pay a minimum commission. So I would take a shorter deal on an aged unit. Let's say the minimum commission at that time was $100 on an aged unit. I might make the minimum commission $250 plus pay a dollar for every day that that car had been on the lot. So if the car had been on the lot 184 days, they would get the minimum commission of 250 plus an additional $184 for having sold that vehicle. Those are just some of the things you do to move aged inventory. The sweet spot is to keep your inventory turning about every 75 days. So you want to be selling stuff between 45 and 75 days. Once it starts getting past 75 days and past 90 days, that's aged inventory. And so that's when you start being much more aggressive on getting rid of those vehicles price wise, and you become more aggressive in how you compensate your sales staff for having sold those vehicles.
Now, a lot of the feedback that we're getting from the community is that these MSRP reductions, the increase in incentives, it's quite frankly just not enough. And I'd say, generally speaking, Pops, folks are right. We look at car price inflation, go Google search it, car price inflation space CarEdge. We're the ones trying our best to lead that research. Jeep, for example, or obviously Chrysler with these $2,000 MSRP reductions. Jeep, let's harp on that for a second. 61% price increase in 5 years. So on those Grand Cherokees that also had a $2,000 price reduction, what does that mean? It's just not enough. And so I think, Dad, as we also see Stellantis and other automakers start to lay off workers, both salaried corporate workers and frontline production workers, I think these are all signs pointing to continued desperation, continued incentives. 2024, I think, will go down in history when it's all said and done as one of the best years to buy a new car because every month the incentives just keep getting stronger. End of every month, end of every quarter, and quite frankly, by the end of this year, it's going to be such a buyer's market. Again, we're seeing layoffs, we're seeing incentives increase, and we're seeing consumers say, I'll just keep waiting. It's not enough yet.
And we're seeing inventories build. So once you add inventories building, we're going to get back to what were normal incentive spends in the past, and incentive spends in the past would account for 10 to 12% of the transaction price. We're right now we're about 6%, so we're 4 to 6% below where ultimately it'll probably end up. And that would indicate, at least to me, in my opinion, that we're going to continue to see an increase in incentives moving throughout 2024.